So this is the Chapter 2 practice test, and you've got a test coming up next week. So let's jump in. As we go through this, I'm going to show you my work. I'm going to show you my work in this section right here. And you are going to be doing your corrections, any correction notes you have in that section right there. So that when you're done, you have the problems you got right. Now, if you got a problem correct, here's what your correction notes can look like. Yay, you. If you got a problem wrong, you're going to make whatever notes you need to make. And then when this is all done, you're going to go ahead and you're going to move your notes, any notes you think are valuable, to the page of test notes you get for Monday. All right, problem number 1. What is 35% of 60? So there are a couple different ways of doing this. One method is to use our percent proportion. Remember, that's always the 100 part. And in this case, the 35% goes here. The of 60 goes here. We're trying to find the part. So we can multiply x times 100 and multiply 35 times 60. Now you're going to get a calculator for the test because we're going to use real tools for real math here. So 2,100. And then actually let me show you where I got that 2,100. That was the 60 times the 35. When you're showing your work on the test, you're going to show steps like this. Even if you're using the calculator to do the math, you're going to show what you did for your work. So that's going to be 100x is equal to 2,100. This 100 right here is the coefficient. We're going to divide by that on both sides. And we are going to end up with x is equal to 21. Answer C. Now there are other ways of doing this problem also. Here in this problem, we are finding the part. And anytime you are doing a finding the part problem, you can also solve it by taking the percent. So we had 35%. Changing it into a decimal, 0.35, and then multiplying that, 0.35, times the whole. In this problem, the 60 right there was the whole. We knew that because we put it in the whole spot in our percent proportion. You can multiply the 0.35 times 60, so 0.35 times 60, and you will get the 21. That method works anytime you are finding the part. If you're trying to find the percent or you're trying to find the whole, that method doesn't work. But for finding the part, it does. All right, go ahead and make whatever correction notes you need to make. Pause the video, make your correction notes, and then we will jump to the next problem. Problem number 2. What is 112% of 50? So again, let's identify what these are. The 50 is the whole. This is the percent. And it's possible to have more than 100%. Remember my example of me eating my Trader Joe's lunch, and it was, the package had 2 servings in it, and I ate a serving and a half. So I actually ate 150% of the whole, because all the information on the package about calories and fiber and sodium and all of that was based on 1 serving. So that was the whole. I ate more than that. So it is possible to eat more than 100%. Yes, I proved that. It is possible to have more than 100%. So if we set up our percent proportion for this problem, we have 50 as our whole. We have 112 as our percent over 100. Our unknown is x. Now the thing that we know, here's a quick check we can do. If you have more than the whole, then your answer is more than that 50, which means the 48 and the 6 can't be answers. So it's either the 56 or the 52. So let's go ahead and solve that percent proportion. So step 1, cross products. So we're going to have 100 times x. We already know 100 is going to be our coefficient. We're going to have 50 times 112. Let's get the calculator out again. 50 times 112 gives us 5,600 equal to 100x. We are going to divide by the 100 on both sides, and we are going to end up with x equals 56, letter F. I think I'll try to get in the habit of circling all my answers in orange, and that way my answers will stand out from other things that go on. So letter F. Now again, let me just change my answer up here to orange. Now again, we can also solve this, since this is a finding the part problem. We could also solve this finding the part problem by taking our 112%, making it into a decimal, 1.12, and then multiplying the 1.12 times the whole, times the 50. 1.12 times 50 equals, no surprise there, 56. All right, so again, pause your video, make whatever correction notes you need to make in this space right here. If you had 56 and you feel like I really know how to do this problem, give yourself a smiley face and then move on to number 3. Number 3. 3% of 120 is what number? All right, so now this is what number is the whole. 3% of 120 is which of these? All right, 3% of 120 is what number? Well, the of what number is going to be the part. The 120 is the whole. So we are going to have the whole 120. We're going to have the 3% over 100. 3%, we know our number's pretty small. In fact, D is too big a number. D is just, whoops, there goes a crazy pen again. D is way too big a number. And we'll see that when we get to our actual answer. All right, so let's do our cross products. 100 times x equals 3 times 120. That's 100x. This is 3 times 100 is 300. And 3 times 20 is 60. We're going to divide everything by the coefficient. And we are going to get x, oops, sorry to put the 3.6 on the wrong side. X is equal to 3.6, and we have answer A. Number 4. Caitlin made 85% of the 60 free throws she attempted. How many free throws did Caitlin make? Well, the 60 free throws is the whole amount she shot. She made 85% of those. So let's use this method this time. We're going to have 0.85 times the 60. Jump to our calculator here, 0.85 times the 60 she shot. She made 51 free throws. So Caitlin made 51 free throws. You'll notice our first 4 problems were all finding the part problems. That's most of what you'll end up doing in real life, is finding the part. However, now we're going to move to a couple of problems that are of a different kind. So now we're going to move to a couple of finding the percent. So our setup, the great news about this is our setup is the same. 6 is what percent of 96? Here's our part. Here's our whole. Here's our percent proportion. Where the missing thing right here is the percent. So there are 2 ways to do this, just like there were 2 ways to do the others. There are a couple of ways to do this. So way number 1 is using the cross product. So let's do that first. 6 times 100 equals to 96 times x. 6 times 100 is 600 equals 96 times x is 96x. This time 96 is our coefficient. And so we're going to divide both sides by 96. And so we have 600 divided by 96 is equal to 6.25. So 6.25 is equal to x, which means our answer is 6.25%. All right. Now, remember I said there are a couple ways to do it. So here's another way. I'm going to use the correction notes section to do this. You'll be able to have it available to make whatever notes you want. The other way to do it, when we see the 6 to 96, the part to the whole, another strategy for solving this is to do the part divided by the whole. That's what fractions are. Fractions show division. So we can do 6 divided by 96. 6 divided by 96 equals 0.0625. And we know to change that to a percent, we end up moving this decimal 2 places over, and we get the same answer we had a minute ago. 6.25%. So you can use either of those methods, percent proportion method or part divided by whole method. Same thing's going to work for number 6. 14 is what percent? So the 14 is the part, the 70 is the whole. We're going to divide the part by the whole. We're either going to do that as a straight up division problem, 14 divided by 70, which gets us 0.2, which is equal to 20%, or we're going to set up a percent proportion where we multiply 70 times x and 14 times 100, and we divide everything by the coefficient 70. And when you do 1400 divided by 70, you get, wait for it, 20%. All right. Again, it's a great thing about math. There is one right answer, in this case 20%, but there are multiple ways to solve it. All right, make whatever notes you need to make and then flip to the back side of your paper. Wyatt bought a pair of shoes for $72. The next week he noticed that the price for the same pair of shoes was now $87. Find the percent change. So percent change is always the change divided by the original amount. In Wyatt's case, the shoes were 72. They went to 87. So to get the change, we have to do 87, take away the 72. That's going to be 15. So we need to take that 15, and we need to divide it by the original amount, by the 72. Now, we could put that into a percent proportion if we wanted to, or we can grab our handy calculator, and we can do 15 divided by 72 equals 0.208333. I have a feeling those threes might continue on forever if our calculator had enough space. We don't need all that, though. We're going to round this to the nearest 10th percent. So you ended up with a change of 20.8%. Now, if you rounded yours to 20 because there weren't instructions that said round to the nearest 10th, don't sweat that. If you knew how to do it, you knew how to do it. On the test itself, I'll be sure to include what percent to round to. All right, number 8. Maria has lunch at a restaurant. Her bill was $12.25. She wants to leave a 20%. What's a reasonable estimate? A reasonable estimate for the amount she would leave for the tip. Okay, let's take a look at... All right, let's take a look. All right, problem number 8. Maria has lunch at a restaurant. If her tip was $12.25 and she wants to leave a 20% tip, what's a reasonable estimate for the amount she should leave for the tip? And unfortunately, the correct answer did not appear here. The actual answer, if you got C, then you took the $12.25 and you multiplied it by the 20% and got exactly $2.45. The estimate that should have appeared here would be to take the $12.25 and say that's about $12. And if you're multiplying $12 times 20%, you're saying, well, $12 times 10% would be $1.20. So $12 times 20% would be $2.40. $2.40 should have appeared as one of the answer choices. It did not. So if you said about $2.40, you were doing the problem well and you were better than the person that wrote this test, which is actually me, and I left out the correct one. That was my fault. But you had the idea. We're going to round something so we can do mental math. That's the idea behind estimating, is we want to be able to do mental math. We want to be able to come up with a reasonable estimate. And then, you know, we would give Maria a little more than that because we rounded down. Now, if you said, well, I think Maria's $12.25 would round up to $12.50, and then I could do 10% of that, so $12.50, do 20% by starting out with $12.50 and do 10%, which would be $1.25. So 20% would be $2.50. That would also be a great answer. All right, let's move down to another here. Number 9, simple interest. So remember, you saw this in the video on simple interest. Anytime you do simple interest, you're doing this. You're doing the principal times the rate times the time. We do the principal times the rate as a decimal, so 3% as a decimal. Let's grab our calculator here. 390 times 0.03 gives us $11.70. This is all money. So this is 1 year. So for 1 year, the amount is $11.70. Then we would take that times 5, and we would get $58.50. And that $58.50 would be our final answer. That's the amount of interest you would earn if you put in $3.90 for 3% for 5 years. Number 10. Eber bought a new pair of baseball cleats for $64.95. The sales tax is $5.50. What's the total cost? You want to know what they're asking for. They want, in this case, the total cost. So here's what we know. We know that he paid $64.95, and we would multiply that by the tax. So we would take our $64.95 times our 5%, and that would give us $3 and then $5.72, so that's going to round to 57 cents. And then we would add the $64.95 and $3.57. The $3.57 plus the original $64.95, and we would get a total of $68.52. Total cost right there. Now, just to remind you, and you heard this from some of your classmates, another way to do this is to take the $64.95 and multiply it by 1.055. So if you did that, $64.95 times 1.055, notice we're getting the same $68.52 right away. And the reason that works is that when you multiply by, I'm going to use this space over here, when you multiply by the 1.055, the 1, which is 100%, is the cost of the cleats. The 0.55, which is the 5.5%, is the tax. And when you add the cleats and the tax, you get the total cost. So break it down and do it in parts like this, or do it all at one like that. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. Number 11. Mr. Jameson bought a toaster oven that originally was priced at $89. He received a 20% discount. What's the sale price? Sale price of the toaster oven. Well, he's got $89, and we're taking away the discount. Discounts are always taken away. So we would take the 89 and we would multiply it by the 20% as a decimal, and we would get $17.80. That is the discount. That's not the final answer. To get the final answer, we need to do the $89. We need to subtract the $17.80. 0, 2, borrow to 1, to get the 2, 1, 8 minus 1, $71.20. Now, you might be saying, well, wait a minute. On the last problem, I had a way I could do it all at once without that subtraction. Can I do the same thing here? And the answer is yes. So if you save 20%, that's that discount, what do you pay? Well, if you save 20%, you pay 80%. So if we take the original amount, the $89, and we multiply it by 80% as a decimal, 89 times 0.8, we get, not surprisingly, $71.20. So that's a great shortcut to use. Remembering, anytime you save 20, you pay 80. Just multiply it by the 0.8 to start with. You don't have to worry about the subtraction. All right, the last problem. She got her hair cut for $21. She left a 15% tip. What's the total amount of money she paid? Well, this is a tip. We add tips on. So we have $21, and we're adding the 15% tip. So 21 times 0.15, 21 times 0.15, $3.15 is the tip. Take the $21, add the $3.15, and the total amount she's going to leave is $24.15. Now, just like the previous problem, we could have taken that 21 and we could have multiplied it by 1.15. So 21 times 1.15, and we would also get $24.15. And the reason that works is when they multiplied it by the 1.15, that 1 is the haircut. That's the 100%. And the 1.5 is the tip. And when we add those together, we get the total. All right, there you go. There are a whole bunch of videos on my website about doing percents. You can look at all of those to get yourself ready. Test on Monday. Get those test notes done. All right, great. If you have questions, be sure to ask.